So this is Kate Stewart, and I'm Dave Curtis. We're with Alere. So what we're going to do today is we're going to tell you a little bit about the history of Alere as an organization, tell you a little bit about some offerings now, and tell you a little bit about what the future is going to look like for our organization. So Alere is a really fantastic company. 25 years ago, we invented some technology called cellulose cross-membrane testing. It's something that sounds really scientific and complicated, but it's actually something that many people have seen every day. What happens is you put something on a little strip of a fiber, something like corn. You impregnate it with some chemicals, and when a sample goes across it, it gives you a result. So 25 years ago, our first invention was something where somebody would take something like prick your finger, it would wick across a membrane, go into a little box, and give you a number. Most type 2 diabetics worldwide use this to manage their blood sugar. 25 years ago, we were a little small organization. We didn't really have the distribution lanes going out into drugstores, so we ended up forming a joint venture and then selling that technology off to the big boys to be able to get that out and get that adopted. Now, if you think about it, that same technology, instead of blood, if you put a different sample on it, and instead of a number, you put a blue plus or minus, now you have brands like Clear Blue Easy. Most people have seen those in drugstores. If you're pregnant, what happens is you don't have to go to a doctor's office or to the hospital. A phrase that 40 years ago, the rabbit died, is now something that younger generations aren't even familiar with. It doesn't even register. Alere has 3 core values: smart, empowered, and connected. What we do is we take technology that had been in reference laboratories, migrate it to hospitals, bring it to physicians' office laboratories, and eventually into the home and the consumer. And we empower the consumer with that information to make their own decisions based on this technology. We like to transform disease management across the space. That's what we do. And then we empower the individual and their medical professionals with the information to make decisions. We don't tell individuals how to do it. We give you the information and we empower you with that information. Now, in the toxicology space, first of all, I believe I'm the luckiest human being I've ever met. So I appreciate what all of you all do. I want to give a shout out to Kat. Yesterday in her messaging, she talked about Callaway Labs and compliance and doing best practices. That's the same thing you'll hear from our organization. That's not what you're going to hear from every organization in our industry in terms of drug testing and toxicology. I beg you, whoever you deal with, that you deal with individuals who are following best practices so that you're dealing with the right way to serve the needs of your patients. Callaway is pursuing that effort. Alere is pursuing that effort. That is what's appropriate. You can't do it the wrong way. Now, in terms of our space, I've been with this organization for 7 years. Until January of this year, I was in other roles, and I moved over into selling and toxicology. I worked in the hospital space. I modeled data. So things for flu tests and HIV and Clostridium difficile and so forth. But because of my personal commitment in my personal life as a chronically overserved member of the 12-step community and professional Zagat reviewer for treatment centers around North America. I can tell you where the best meatloaf is on Tuesday at many of the finest treatment centers in the Northeast. And otherwise, what I can tell you is that the decision was made that my skill sets would best be applied in addiction treatment. What's really cool is that having been at Alere for 7 years, I've seen how one by one they built a portfolio of many of the brands that you know and trust. So groups like Redwood, for 25 years we've been doing testing that many of you utilize on a daily basis. Overseas, Concantino and Alere UK. That's drug testing. We have 3 labs in the UK. We're the only toxicology provider that's a worldwide provider. In the United States, we also have laboratory services. Kate is going to touch on what that means. What we're engaged in right now is building a massive education service for the industry to talk about the different options you have as providers. Because I don't think that there's any one solution that fits everything. Alere happens to have all the different solutions. We're the only provider, we believe, that has every different type of solution So we manufacture the reagents. We have the FDA-approved lab in China making the diagnostics equipment. We also just launched a DNA amplification test for CYP 450 that can test your patients to determine whether or not they have the right metabolic rates for certain psychiatric medications. I mean, we're doing amazing stuff and helping to lead the market in these different spaces. With that, Kate, why don't you talk a little bit about laboratory services?
Okay, so I work obviously for Alere. It's specifically for a wing of Alere that works in addiction and treatment. One of the neat things about working for a company like Alere that is so global and far-reaching is that the resources that we have are pretty grand. The lab that I specifically work for is based in Clearwater, Florida. All of the samples, urine specimens that are run out of that lab are strictly addiction treatment. For me and clients, and I think it's kind of best for everybody, because all of the efforts that we have, from lead toxicologists to our lab directors and method developers, are all addiction treatment focused. So it's focusing on what's affecting your clients in the here and now and in the future, so to speak, that they're looking into the future and at these designer drugs, for instance, the synthetic marijuana, the synthetic opiate, bath salts, things like that. We're developing and trying to really stay on the forefront of what's upcoming to kind of help the clients in the end of that. We also understand the need for a quick turnaround time. We are a full-scale confirmation, quantitative levels lab. So there are some limitations in that, but we've really, done a great job of, we provide a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time from the time it is received at the lab, which is really great. We understand how important that is to you guys and ultimately the patient care. So working for Alere is really, and then making Clearwater specifically addiction treatment has allowed us to do a lot of focusing on what's important in this realm. We test now for more kinds of synthetics than any other lab as far as synthetic marijuana at 19 different kinds. 9 different bath salts, again, kratom. And also, like a lot of labs are most now, the 80-hour alcohol test, which is obviously important out there. We do offer an electronic requisition form now, so I'm sure like a lot trying to move away from all the paper and all the legwork that is, so we offer an electronic option for that, as well as integration with an electronic medical record. So systems you might have in place in your facilities that we're able to integrate with now, bidirectionally, which I don't know the ins and the outs of IT, but the idea is that not only are we getting client information from you, but we're also then, you're getting back the quantitative confirmations direct into client files. So a bidirectional system. Kat touched on it a bit yesterday, but obviously in the industry, there are a lot of compliance things around the billing issues and things like that. We've done a great job of proactively kind of figuring out solutions that work best for the facilities and then ultimately the client. So what we've done is taken a proactive approach and looked at a lot of different hardship options. So not just strictly, we work hardship for both self-pay and insured clients. It's an option to both. And then not only did that client or that household make X amount of dollars and where do they fall into a matrix, but we also offer options as far as anything from, the father of that family had some health issues 12 months prior and they had a lot of medical bills. And how does that play into it? Or, some people will say, well, I do have, I'm going to turn in a bank statement, let's say, but I do have money in there, but it's from, shoot, I'm losing the word. Divorce, when they pay. So. No. Something like that. Yeah. It's from alimony, or it's to go to the kids and not for urine drug screening. And that's all taken into account. There's a different program for a number of different situations and growing every day. So we have a team of people that are really looking out for the patients and what situations they're finding themselves in and how we can best adapt to that with them. Missing anything?
No, I think that's good. So Kate touched on a couple of things. I'll expand on them. So the integration with a various range of EMRs. So if you have an EMR in place that you know and love, fantastic. We offer full HL7 bidirectional interfaces. However, what we've also done is we've reached out and we've formed some good strategic partnerships with a number of EMRs that are out there in the market that you're using. You're going to see a number of those that are right now in alpha and beta in a couple of key clients rolling out to the market over the next 3 to 6 months. We're really proud of these relationships that we've established and really helping to drive that. So instead of doing case-by-case scenarios, you'll see a lot of these coming into place and rolled out through some public announcements. Now, one thing that I've been working on is something that I believe Alere can offer that no one else can. And what I would say is from the day somebody checks into detox to 5 months through their aftercare planning is one continuous stream of data. I'm a data guy, I'm a numbers guy. Before I got into working in the medical space, I was modeling using regression analysis, large chunks of data for people pushing out messaging and data to a range of different activities. And so what that means in this space is very simple. The testing and the collection of the data from that testing, right now somebody could go into a detox, use one provider, good provider in the detox. Then they go into an inpatient treatment center, another provider. Then they go to an IOP, another provider. Then an aftercare compliance monitoring outcome system, another provider. Now you have 4 different providers. All of them could be good providers. However, the issue is that now you have 4 different sets of data. You don't see trending. You don't see long-term outcome data that's going to be vital by 2015 as the government enters the market and is a payer providing reimbursement and looking to level in ACOs into our industry. I believe that that's what's happening in the next couple of years. I believe that outcome is going to be vital in terms of tracking because I believe the payers will be enforcing tracking and trending on outcome. Now, how are they going to do that? They're going to look at third-party verifiable data. You can't have the fox guard in the hen house, okay? If I'm a provider, I believe that they're going to look for things like UAs to verify that going down the line, people are actually staying sober, staying clean. That's my perspective. I'm not the only perspective, but I would say that having urinalysis as part of an outcome platform is probably a good idea. Now, so what Alere has done is that we have 15,000 collection sites around the country. How do we do that? Being the world's largest toxicology provider, we have several large contracts, like the Walmart pre-employment screening contract. If you get a job at Walmart and you want to get a first day on the job at Walmart, you have to drop a urine screen. For us to get that contract, we have to place collection sites within 5 miles of every Walmart in the United States. Have you ever seen where every Walmart is in the United States or looked it up? I actually have. Now, if you were here at the last ITCC, I thoroughly put my foot in my mouth, confusing Ingram with Kerrville, Texas. And I've been to both. I love both. My friends that are in the Hill Country, my lineage in recovery goes through the Hill Country in Texas. But I confused the both, and I said that there are 2 traffic lights in Kerrville, and it's really Ingram that's the small town, and the Walmart is in between the 2. And I was woefully embarrassed and felt like an idiot. But it isn't the first time or last time in my life that I will feel like an idiot. My wife will remind me of that repeatedly. In any event, the Walmarts, we had to place all these collection sites because if you think about it, if you're getting an entry-level job at Walmart, you're probably not driving to your first day on the job in a $100,000 car. You're probably going in a bike or walking, right? So we have a massive collection network around the country. Why that's important to you is that when somebody gets out of treatment, they need to be able to drop a UA anywhere, anytime. We can do that. So you know what? The most difficult point, and I'll say this and finish up, is that historically the rub about aftercare has been people want to do it, but it's expensive. And you're getting people at the tail end of the care continuum. They've gotten banged out on rehab, banged out on inpatient, banged out on sober living, and now the family's exhausted. There's diddly divided by squat left on an insurance card, right? All right, I know what it's like. I went to 17 rehabs. I know how much is left on that card by the time you're done. But what happens is you put this through a reimbursable event, you run as few panels as possible, you customize stuff, and you focus on what you believe is best, allowing your clinical professionals to highly target it through what I believe is the very best labs in the country, in the world, that allow us to help you. We're here. Kate's email is on the card, on the thing. My email is here. I'll do anything I can for you. Allow us to help you in any way we can. Allow us to help you help your patients. It's been an honor and privilege. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Question.
Yeah, yep. Greg is one of many of our advisors. Greg's a wonderful person, and is a great person who works for you, and we're real proud to have a long relationship with you all. I saw Rob 2 weeks ago. He's your COO.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Yep.
I hope so.
So I just have a question. You know, I know you talk about it in the book, but it seems that the young adult population is finding ways and means to cheat tests and are pretty sophisticated in doing so. I mean, it's just not the Whizzinator anymore. And do you guys have any suggestions on what to do and how to do it?
Sure.
And what are you guys doing
Can you
in
repeat
terms
that
of
question?
combating that epidemic of these clients cheating the UAs?
Yeah.
Repeat it.
So the question was, particularly in a young adult demographic, the risk or exposure about trying to beat the tests, and that increasingly they're just kind of moving around. This is why we're doing a huge push on education. You have to know why to put the right test into the right demographic. Doing highly sensitive testing for opiates in a maternity ward is a bad idea, because if the woman had a bagel, you're going to end up on a $3 million lawsuit on the back end. Wrong application. Highly sensitive testing in young demographic while running for creatine panels, pH levels, all these different things, very important, because you know they're trying to game the system. You've got to look at using laboratory services, because a simple CLIA cup doesn't pick up on the synthetics, doesn't pick up on all the esoteric drugs, and they're not coming out on a DOT5 screen because they already know. They've gone online. They're web savvy. They know how to beat the system, so you have to stay one step ahead of them. Hence why we're trying to massively educate the market, and you're going to see a lot of very significant pushes in the next 3 to 6 months coming from us.
What you look
And that
at.
validity
what
testing is done all in-house on the confirmation side of it with us.
I was in Clearwater the other day and went through the lab. You know how many times we were speeders, we bought the radar to beat the cops' radar, and they brought out the other radar. This is what it is. This is what it is. It's the radar against the radar. That's what it is. But you ought to see, if you get a chance, go to Clearwater and look at that lab. I mean, it's all about the people in this room and what we do. What's that guy's name from India?
We have, what we did was literally, we took the folks who built the best labs in the industry and said, we want the better one. So all the times that you had to, cut the corner in the past, or not do reflex testing on all of the panels, or do or this or that, stop. We want definitively the benchmark facility that nothing is better than this. And what we did too was, we were the only lab that puts 100% just addiction treatment into this facility. We have our pain in another place, so it's really focused there just on that. And we have 5 different labs across North America, each dedicated on a specific sort of application. Are there any other? Yes.
Yeah, so there's like GNC and other places sell like this juice, right? That you can drink it an hour or 2 hours before.
Yeah, that'll come screaming off as an adulterated urine.
It will?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not masking marijuana or THC anymore, it's showing up?
Well,
Particularly not with the cutoff levels that we use. On the type of machines that we use, which are liquid chromatography, mass spectrometry, it reports down to a 0 cutoff. So there would be, as diluted as it could be, or covering, like you mentioned, something like THC, we report down to 0, so there's no room for a false or a negative on that.
What we did, one example, we got a call from one of the best hospitals in the country. They called me up and they said, we have a psychotic break on an adolescent. We have no idea what's going on. We got your number, Dave. Can you please help? We got it in there, and we reduced cutoffs to literally being able to peer back in time, desperately trying to provide people with information as to why an adolescent had a psychotic break, because if there aren't any drugs, then you have an even worse problem. People aren't supposed to walk around the planet and have psychotic breaks for no reason. You know what? There was stuff in there, but even a major benchmark hospital in this country, their core lab couldn't have it because they weren't designed to find that. Again, you have to know why you're testing and use it in certain niche applications. Yes?
I have a question. Are you going to do, you are going to do the genetic testing?
We have that today.
You have that today. Which panels do you offer for, do you do cardiac? Do you do the full panels that these other companies are trying to do? And you can, and the information that comes back tells you what medication will work on that type of patient?
Yeah, so the CYP450
Right.
test gives you one of 4 determinants.
Is that saliva?
Yes, it's an oral swab that it's like a Q-tip.
How much is it? $7.50?
It bills literally right off the Medicare price. So some of the issues you've heard around billing issues and so forth, we made a determination that for something like this, it's clear and easy. It sells it.
Can you see where we're headed as far as getting the evaluation? This whole 5-year plan is, number one, what we have to do with the FBI. We've got, we're working with the FBI alumni, we're all the first responders. And what they insist on is the 5 years, the monitoring, when we send it for the evaluation, like Pine Grove, Mediport, these other places and provinces that do these evaluations, can you imagine what we're going to have here with the genetics? That for only $750 for some of the sophisticated, we'll be able to pick this up. Managers is using it now.
Yeah, it's straight off the Medicare price. It's billed directly to a facility, not through third-party billers. Okay, and what it does is it tells you for your psychiatrist one of 4 things. Will a medication work for the patient? Will it not work? No matter how far you titrate them up the scale. So if Paxil's not going to work today at 5 milligrams and it won't work at 15, don't prescribe it. All you're going to do is drive non-compliance for the patients. So if there are 100 meds, let's focus on the 50 or 60 that you know are going to work based on their baseline metabolic rates. And let's not drive poor people who are struggling and are desperate for solutions. Let's not have them invest time and effort and go down the path of using meds that we know definitively, based on research from Harvard, Stanford, and Duke, will not work. And so, yes, no, or the patient may need more, or they may need less.
Right now, for you that are upset about him spending a lot of time, he bought 15 minutes, so I want you to hear that. You can all do that too, but and also you need more enthusiasm next time.
Or do your homework, one of the two.
Yeah, and start learning bigger words.
No. Can you say, just to be fair, you'll see me after.
Yeah, and one more last one, and then see him afterwards during lunch. You want to finish up?
You go ahead.
Go ahead.
So, question. Okay, so do you have the ability today to, I have clients, put the clinical profile in of the medications they're currently being prescribed, the psychotropics, so that, you know, all the time that's spent in false positives related to the medications, that, because there's a time, and this client has relapsed, and now we're getting false positives. So the client, and we don't know, but the client is actually loaded.
You currently have that option at your facility.
We do? Do we use it?
Maybe a phone call.
I love that.